Welcome to your reality. And Brittany. There you are. Did you get a text?
Oh, nothing happened. I don't know what. I don't know.
And now I can't hear you very well. It's real quiet.
Hear me now?
Yes. Now I came back.
Okay, sorry about that. I don't know what that was.
See, I think the racists were coming for.
Bring it.
Brittany's like, just bring it.
Bring it, bitch!
That is one area Brittany don't fool around with, at all.
As her best friend, guys, that's one thing that's your hot button is people that are racist and homophobic, and don't play that. And if you're all those things, number one, you're not listening to our podcast, but number two, you are disgusting pieces of shit, and you should definitely stop being narcissistic.
Yeah, you can definitely ask Jimmy. I don't come at people, but that's one of those, I'm gonna come at you. And that's just from a whole line of I never experienced that level of narcissism until I met my husband's stepfather, who is also not in our lives because Brittany said, no. My poor husband, I love Wild Man. You guys saw it last week, how much infatuation there is between him and I. But I put my foot down when it came to his narcissistic father because I saw it before he could. My poor husband was gaslit and told for years, you'll never get a better job. This makes me cry for him. You'll never have a better job. You could never get. He used to work for the stepfather. Sorry, I didn't add that in there. My man used to work for his stepfather, and his stepfather told him for years, you'll never find a better job. You'll never get more money. There's nothing out there better for you. Basically gaslighting my husband to stay there and work.
Yes.
My husband worked 90 hours a week for $500.
Whoa.
Salary. And not just once a week. I once a month. I mean, every single week. He never worked less than 85 hours the first few years we were together and he worked there. And I finally said, absolutely not. This is disgusting. We're leaving.
Was that when he was doing the garbage truck thing?
Yeah. He would spend 12 hours on the garbage truck and come home, do maintenance work on the truck for more hours. Yeah.
Yeah, our garbage guys, I go out there periodically and I give them more money because I'm just I know you get pennies to do this.
Yeah, we do the same thing because we know the experience firsthand.
Yes.
But Wild Man was gaslit for his entire life by women, by his stepfather, he had an absent father. His biological father wasn't there, but he went through so much of that. And I think that's when I started seeing it, that I was like, oh, no. Say what you want to me about me, but we not messing with Wild Man, okay? We not doing that because we'll bring out Brianka if people start messing with Wild Man. I don't do that.
You guys tried the Paleo Valley beef sticks? These beef sticks are 100% grass-fed and grass-finished. And many of the grass-fed beef sticks on the market today are actually finished with grains. They use beef sourced from small domestic farms in the United States. They only use real organic spices to flavor the beef sticks versus all the conventional spices sprayed with pesticides and other natural flavors from GMO. They also ferment the sticks, which creates naturally occurring probiotics, all great for your gut health. And best of all, they taste amazing. Again, they're Paleo Valley, my favorite beef stick on the market today. Go check them out, you guys. PaleoValley.com. Use the coupon code Jimmy at checkout for 15% off your first order. Paleo Valley beef sticks.
So you mentioned something about the stepdad with Wild Man that triggered in me the same thing that happened to me. One of the signs of narcissism is bringing you down, cutting you down. And my dad did that stuff to me all the time. He'd always threaten me with, I'm going to put you in reform school. I didn't even know what that was. I lived in rural Tennessee, and he's like, I'm going to send you to Nashville to reform school. I'm like, like a college? What reform school? I didn't know what it was. And, little did I know, is like, oh, you're a bad kid. You got to go get reformed. I after a while, I was like, is there a reform school, or is that just a threat? And they're threatening you, and in my case, demasculating me. You're gay. No girl ever wants you. All these kind of like ugly things. It's almost like at that point, it became so obvious if you were paying attention, but I was so caught up in it, I couldn't see it at the time. And here's the other thing. I didn't realize the pain he had gone through in his life. And that this is kind of the core, I think, of what makes people narcissistic. It's the trauma response.
Yeah.
It's such a trauma response. My dad was the son of an abusive, alcoholic, physically and mentally abusive father who died in his early 50s. So, and I remember my brother Kevin was telling me that was the only time he ever saw Dad cry until my brother Kevin died. And that's the time I saw him cry. And it was when Grandpa died, who I never met. I never was old enough to remember. But like, he inherited that from his dad, so that narcissism was generationally passed down, just like the abuse.
Yeah.
Like when you put all the pieces together, like you and I try to do on this show, it makes sense. It doesn't make it right, but it makes sense.
Yeah, like that's what I was going to point out. As we're going one step deeper here, it is so important for me and myself to understand where people come from, even if they're heinous people. I still want to know, why are they the way they are? Why do they believe the way they believe? Why do they think the way they do? Like, that's important for me, but in no way does my understanding rationalize and justify their bullshit. Because it is never okay to treat someone the way that you and I have been treated by narcissists in our life. It's never okay to gaslight somebody. That's why, Jimmy's allowed to call me out if I do it, and I call him out. Like, that's kind of, we have that relationship where we're trying to grow each other. We have a friendship where we can call each other out. And other relationships that we have, we've learned, now we're not going to allow this. We're not going to put up with this. And so that's where you have to get, where if you do recognize, oh shit, I'm dealing with a narcissist. And there are several things that you can do if you do recognize that. But like, one of them is never justifying their behavior by understanding why they are the way they are.
No. And that was a good point. But here's something else that popped in my head. A narcissist is going to call you a narcissist. I have been so amazed to watch, and I call that pot kettle black when that happens.
Yes.
And that's been amazing to me. And I've had somebody in my life who was in my life, not anymore, and that person always looked at me as a narcissist. And so when you step back and you watch actions and you listen to things and how things go, they were the narcissist all along, but I was the one that was called the narcissist. And that's just amazing to me. And again, that's gaslighting, to call someone not a narcissist, because you yourself are a narcissist and you're trying to divert attention away from your narcissism to put it on someone else. Like, that's a lot of psychological stuff.
Yeah, that kind of goes into what I was talking with my therapist about yesterday. Sorry, guys, I'm in therapy now, and so I'm just going to reference my therapist a lot.
And I was going to say, we're going to get a lot of content out of your therapy sessions because, guys, she called me for like an hour after her therapy session. I was like, Jimmy, you're not going to believe. Let's check this out. I'm like, that's called therapy. Good job.
Well, one of the things that he mentioned yesterday was you as in who you see yourself as, there's 1,000 different yous. Other people have their own version of who you are, but you're not responsible for who other people think you are. You're only responsible for yourself and how you treat other people. And if they, like, it's not your responsibility to define or refine in other people's mind who they think you are. You live your life as you, unapologetically as yourself, and if they see the changes and accept it, great. If not, it's not your responsibility to change their mind.
And you made a comment that this whole notion of go find yourself, and I was like, which version are you supposed to find? Like, you're not lost. That was an interesting observation that your therapist told you.
Right. And it really goes back to this, because dealing with narcissists, you and I have been told who we are, when to ourselves we're like, wait a minute, that's not who I am. I don't see myself as that. And so when they pointed out, you have to understand, you're right. Your feelings are right. That's not who you are. That's a narcissist trying to call you something that you aren't, and it's not your responsibility to fix that.
You have hit on something that I'm just now like really solidifying in my mind. Thank you. I love this show, and I've missed you so much on this show. My dad defined who I was all throughout my teenage years. You're gay, you're no girl will want you, you're stupid even though you're an honor roll student, you need reform because you're a bad kid. I was a great kid. I wasn't perfect. I was a kid, but still, for being abused, I think I was a pretty damn good kid. All these things, he defined who I was. Oh, here was one too, and I think I've told the story about how he would make me do a lot of manual labor. So he owned restaurants, and I dug a post hole next to his sign because truckers were getting too close to it and they'd hit it. So he put up this little pole, and so he said, dig the hole, you can't go deep enough. And I'm sitting there digging, I'm getting blisters all over my hands, and he comes back out an hour later and he looks over at me, smirks, and then he kicks dirt back in it. He defined me as lazy. And you know me better than anybody, Brittany. Am I a lazy man? I'm probably one of the hardest working people you know. But like, I think that drove me to work even harder was his notion that, well, you're just a lazy, useless piece of shit. And so much of my life, foundationally, started with someone else defining me. And that's gaslighting to the hilt from a narcissist that wanted to put me in his box to define me under his terms, which justified the beatings, the berating, all the things that happened. Because if he looked at me for who I was, a wonderful honor roll student kid that was going places, had he only given me just an inkling of support, I could have been valedictorian. I could have gone to major university, coulda, woulda, shoulda. I'm not upset with my life. My life's wonderful for where I am today. But what would have happened?
I love this show. And it's also like gut wrenching to sit here and like go over your own life and go, shit. I remember, same, by the way, I'm 28 years old. And I would say the reason why I've gone on such an existential crisis the last year of my life is because I finally decided, you know what? I think I want to be me finally. I think I'm going to give myself permission to be who I am and not what other people want from me and what other people tell me that I am. It's time for me to be who I am. And I remember a family member that I lived with, so a parent. I'll just leave it there. I have lots of parents, so, you know, I'm not defining one of them, just a parent. Looked at me one day because I wasn't crying as a response to a movie. Everybody else in the room was crying. I wasn't crying. It was a movie, and I really wasn't paying attention. I was berated for 30 minutes about how I have zero compassion for other people. I care about nobody but myself. And I was told to go to my room and not come out because I didn't cry as a response to a movie. And so I go in my room, and I have the type of personality where if someone tells me a criticism, I take that fully because I don't just tell people things lightly. And so I assume that other people do the same thing, especially as a teenager. And so when I'm in my room, I'm like, wow, I guess I have no compassion for people and I don't care for people. I must do it more. I must show it more. And so at that point, now I'm controlled by this one thing that plays over and over and over in my head, that I have no compassion.